seems like, I guess y'all got this program to where y'all have liked it more than ever. How much?
I think it's better than it has been, but there's a lot of people working a lot of time to, you know, try to get things right, and I think they're starting to understand some of the things that are happening. There's a lot of things that these donor heads on the forwards are super efficient. They flow 30% more air than any other head there is, so you can't just stop that, you know. It's something you work around. So there's a lot of things. We have 40 different tools we can do to try to adjust for that. It's just when and where and how do you do it the right time. And we get it right some days. Some days we need to start detuned and instead of end detuned, and we're maybe a step behind. But the guys are doing a phenomenal job of, you know, getting me to where we can be a little bit more competitive racing. And, you know, obviously when you see the racetrack, I think 2 nights this year we've had a really wet racetrack. The first night at Peavey and Lincoln, and we were first and second quick both times. So there's
and that was weird because I was there filming the qualifying at Lincoln, and it didn't look like the car was really that smooth for you, but it was fast time. The car came off the back straightaway and like darted across on you, and you were catching it. It
was all motor. I couldn't even. It drove way past me on entry, and then, because Lincoln's one of the places you got to slow down your entry a little bit. I couldn't get it slowed down, so I did what I had to do, and then by the time you get there, you got to get back on the gas, and you did, and it obviously was a great lap, but you know,
it was surprising.
The racetrack stayed the whole time too, which
is
really odd for Lincoln. If you go back 8 years, it's never stayed that consistent, so I don't. Maybe it's just the spring weather, maybe track prep was different, maybe it's just the way races go, who knows what it is.
Well, and I was curious with you, this season seems to be a little better than previous seasons, at least starting off it seemed like it was better.
Well, we're not taking out of a gigantic hole, but
notebooks stacked on top of notebooks.
You know, well, notebooks don't do any good anymore, but you know, we're digging out of a giant hole, but we want to make sure we capitalize on every night's what we learn from it, and try to get a baseline that's gets us in the hunt every night. You know, that's what we're racing against, guys that have a pretty good baseline, so we're getting there. Well,
and I was going to ask, beginning of the year, something that sparked a lot of people's eyes, something that we've seen a lot of people start to use, the telemetry that we saw in your car at the beginning of the year at Volusia. Did y'all find anything in that situation that has carried or made a difference this year?
Well, you can take that. Someone's got to understand what it says and what it does, and you can. I think if we were going to take engineers in this game, and this
but it was on the car for a reason, right?
Obviously, it is, and an engineer put it on there. It's not the only sprint car that's ever had telemetry on there.
I'm not saying it isn't. But.
If there's another team that's associated with people that have that access, and if it was about that, they'd have been winning stuff 20 years ago. So, you know, it's a tool that you can try to use, but you got to understand it, and sometimes you got to learn things over. I myself don't try to understand it because I've already told them what the telemetry is going to tell them. They just get to see it on a computer screen instead of come out of my mouth. So,
well, and
they can take something to Ford and engineers and say, well, this is what he said and this is what it shows, and they're like, oh yeah, that's the same thing.
So has any of that stuff been implemented into the year at all? Have you seen a jump?
How do you implement it, Chaz?
I don't know. The engineer's telling somebody.
Just because you find something out doesn't mean it's the magic book and the answers of what to do. This game's all trial and error, so that's what we're still doing. If it was
I just didn't know if you noticed a significant or a jolt just because of that situation.
No, it's basically, you know, we've tested with telemetry since I've been at TSR. We've had the opportunity to take and test it on the car. We've never physically had it on the motor before, where they can see that the wheels start to spin and I move my foot, go half throttle, and it doesn't change the motor. That's what I've been saying. So when they
telemetry backed up your verbal statement,
they're like, oh, that's what's going on. Yeah.
You actually enjoy it then, because it ain't just you as a driver complaining.
It's an expensive backup, is what it is. It's like someone telling your credit card number and then you show it.
Right. But apparently it helped because it validated your statements, and it wasn't just like a guesswork. People who are actually doing it and understand it, they're like, okay, so this is what he was talking about the entire time.
Don't worry, the race teams listen to me bitch about the same thing for the last 7 years. So it goes in one ear and out the other.
But that computer didn't, is what you're saying.
Well, the guys that are trying to figure out how to regulate that are the ones that got to see it on a computer screen, and they can try to work on that versus what I say, because sometimes I guess what vocabulary doesn't really correlate to someone who doesn't drive these things or doesn't work on them. So obviously it gives them the data to look at it on a computer screen, on a graph, and they can say, oh, well, they think this is it and that's it. And that doesn't always mean it's right. You still have to interpret graphs, and I think we all learned a little bit of that in school. And but we also learned a lot of shit in school. You know, I had a calculator once. I was always good with math, but the teacher told me, you can't have that. You're not going to have access to a calculator your entire life. You know, that's a bunch of bullshit, because every phone's
now we
got
do,
a calculator
yeah.
on.
Now we
So
do.
That teacher.
You're coming from a different age, though, in that teacher.
Thanks for reminding
I'm
me
just
of that.
well. What was cell phones invented back then? I'm just saying.
No, cell phones.
I was a kid in
Camera
school.
phones weren't
Hey,
invented either.
I was a kid in school. They didn't have a calculator. We didn't have cell phones either. We had pagers. You know, if you need something, you just call
I used to
them.
get called to the principal's office over the PA.
Really? Did you get the paddle with the
No, I
holes
never got the
drilled in
paddle.
them?
I got the paddle when I got home. Never got the paddle in school, but when I got home, I got the paddle.
Did you know people in school who got the paddle?
Not in school.
Okay.
I knew people that got the paddle at home.
Okay. Okay. With the holes drilled out, or just typical paddle?
Well, it was about a 44-inch belt that my dad carried on him all the time. And when it hit that last loop coming off, you knew shit was going to hit the fan pretty
Did he
quick.
ever do the pop with the belt?
Oh, yeah.
Come here.
Oh,
You know what I'm
yeah.
talking about? The whole pops?
Did you get the belt?
Oh,
You
I
must-
got the
you
belt.
must have
Oh, I got the. Hey, I was.
I
Hey,
definitely got the belt.
my problem is just like the Outlaws. Everybody's figuring out. It don't matter how much you can hurt me. I'm still going to talk back. So I mean, I'm trained in this.
That's a good way to be.
Hey, it's a good way. I'll take the pain. Let's go.
Yep.
So I mean, yes, I got the belt pretty good. Yeah.
Good.
But
It obviously didn't work.
no, it worked. It strengthened me to fight the
That's
bigger
good.
hierarchy.
That's good.
You know. So anyway, we don't. Even, now we're talking about getting whooped. What's going on in our lives? This is.
You'll
This
get in
is
trouble.
bad.
I won't get in trouble. But you'll
Well,
get in
I
trouble.
mean, I'm fine. If I get in trouble, I don't have to drive an ugly car around the racetrack. You
This
do.
ain't ugly. You're missing the whole thing.
Okay,
There-
okay. Tell me
there's
how it's
ghost-
not. I
there's
do
ghost
like the
checkers.
gold.
I mean,
Okay,
there's ghost
wait, hold
checkers
on.
and
There's ghost
gold.
checkers. Hold
Check
on.
See, you're missing the
Hold
point.
on. Let's see it.
You're
Okay,
not
okay. Well,
catching
let's
on.
give the
This has got
detail.
some-
Let's see the
You know,
detail.
It's easier said than done.
I thought
trying
it
to
was a
design these cars
crayon
when you
deal.
when you got multiple partners to please and placement and
Yeah,
everybody's
but
logo
you did
colors
change the
and all
Ford.
that.
Was that because of readability?
I didn't do that. Obviously, they made a change after they seen it the first
Okay.
time, and right, that's what we do is we accommodate our partners.
So what's
Hear
the
that horn?
what's the? Yeah, I did hear the
It's
horn.
time
What's
to
the
keep going.
detail? There is actually checkers in
Yeah,
there.
there's gold.
There is gold. We all saw that, but this just isn't a
Quit
dark
knocking
blue.
it. Quit knocking
This
it.
isn't a dark blue. This is actually, there's the checkers in
Yeah,
here.
it's ghost checkers.
You can barely see it even in the camera as we're speaking right now, but there is checkers. There's ghost checkers. Oh my. The horn has sounded.
Want to hot lap it?
I'd have to lose a few more pounds.
I wouldn't let you if you were 100 pounds.
I'm just saying. I don't want to make you look bad out there, Donnie.
150 people that want
Couldn't hear you. You had a bone in your mouth.